Malaysia requires a holistic and dynamic digital economy's ecosystem. Chinese national drowns in water surge incident. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Mohana Priya and this is Updates at Noon. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and Raja Pemaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Amina Maimunah Iskandaria arrived in Madinah yesterday evening. The royal couple are in the Holy Land to perform their Hajj this season. Their Majesties performed Maghrib prayers as soon as they arrived at Masjid Nabawi. Joining them was Pahang Regent Tengku Mahkota Tengku Hassanal Ibrahim Alam Shah. The King and Queen are expected to be in the Holy Land until the 2nd of July. The well-being of the Malaysian Armed Forces veterans will continue to be one of the priorities for the Defence Ministry. Its Deputy Minister, Adli Zahari, said the ministry will continue to increase service delivery efficiency and effectiveness through the development of the Veteran Integrated Benefit System Portal, or VIBES 2.0.
Ini juga kita tingkatkan kita punya sistem data kerana kita tahu kebajikan dan kesihatan banyak terkait juga dengan database. Jadi itu sebab di bawah Jabatan Hal-Ehwal Veteran hari ini kita tingkatkan sistem data kita supaya data kita itu tepat tentang kedudukan veteran sedia ada. Sebab itu macam saya sebutkan tadi, kita di Kementerian Pertahanan kita berusaha cari jalan penyelesaian. Kerana kita tahu soal veteran ini bukan sahaja soal pencen, tapi isu paling besar sekali adalah kebajikan.
He said this after officiating the pre-launching of VIBES 2.0 Go Live in Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia requires a holistic and dynamic digital economy ecosystem that covers aspects such as infrastructure, public monetary policy and skills. Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives Minister Dato' Iwan Benedict said it is imperative that the country focuses on building and expanding digital skills.
As part of the government's continuous efforts to create a sustainable, equitable and inclusive society, it is a priority for us to introduce MSMEs and SME-friendly policies that incentivize and promotes the rapid adoption of technology and digitalization.
He added the fast-changing nature of technology and internet proved that it will stay relevant for a very long time. Datuk Sri Iwan said this at the 5th anniversary of Wills Tech Technology Company and the launch of eMobic in Kuala Lumpur. eMobic is a platform for the mobile development of applications without coding. The application aims to help entrepreneurs to further expand their businesses through the latest technology. The Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership CPTPP, which is set to be signed by UK soon, would provide opportunities to enhance cooperation between the two countries, especially in the digital economy. According to Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz, with UK's participation, it is expected that trade and investment flows between the two countries will increase.
Well, my hope is, of course, I'm also going to be involved where we're going to receive UK to join the CPTPP. That will happen in the mid of July in New Zealand, where the accession will formally take place. And I believe with UK's participation in CPTPP, that will increase the trade and investment flows between the two countries.
He said this when met during the King Charles III birthday celebration hosted by the British High Commission in Malaysia at the Central Depot yesterday. High Commissioner to Malaysia Charles Hay said that bilateral trade between the two countries is expected to boom even more in the coming years.
It gives us access to a huge market. It's particularly important for the UK and Malaysia relationship because we've not had a free trade arrangement in the past. So I think there'll be huge opportunities for British and for Malaysian businesses.
More companies in Malaysia are exploring and integrating generative artificial intelligence or AI into their business operations. According to a study by IBM's Institute for Business Value, over 40% of ICT professionals reported that their organizations are actively exploring the use of generative AI to drive business growth. Surprisingly, nearly a third of the surveyed companies have already integrated generative AI, setting new benchmarks in innovation and success. IBM Malaysia Managing Director and Technology Leader Catherine Lian said that the government should be commended for positioning Malaysia as a regional leader in the field of AI. She added that the Malaysia Artificial Intelligence Roadmap 2021 to 2025 and the Malaysian Digital Economy Blueprint exemplify the government's vision for integrating AI across sectors. IBM believes that AI holds great promise for Malaysia's economic growth in the National Industrial Revolution 4.0 policy's target of 30% output increase by 2030. On IBM's part, Lian said it remains committed to supporting Malaysia's AI initiatives and contributing to the development of a vibrant and successful AI ecosystem in the country. The Madani Medical Scheme, which offers free outpatient treatment to eligible groups, has greatly helped reduce the financial burden of the Rahmah Cash Aid or SDR recipients and the B40 households in seeking medical treatment at private clinics. Johor Exco Ling Tian Sun said 10 districts, including Johor Bahru, have been identified for the early stage implementation of the scheme. He added the initiative launched by the federal government earlier this month will also help to reduce the congestion in public health clinics and hospitals. He added the STR recipients will now be able to seek treatments at 33 private clinics in the state that are registered under the initiative.
Dan sekarang cuma ada 33 dan proses pendaftaran GP-GP ke dalam senarai tersebut still ongoing, masih berjalan, dan mudah-mudahan pada masa yang terdekat kita pada masa yang kemaskini kita akan mengemaskinikan senarai tersebutlah.
Ling said this after officiating the nuclear medical unit in a private hospital in Johor Bahru. A Chinese national and her Malaysian friend drowned after they were swept away by a water surge while bathing at the Kampung Orang Asli Pertak waterfall in Kuala Kubu Baru yesterday. Selangor Fire and Rescue Department Director Wan Muhammad Razali Wan Ismail said the incident happened following heavy rain upstream, which caused the water level to surge amid strong currents. 5 firemen from the Kuala Kubu Baru Fire and Rescue Station were dispatched to the location upon receiving a distress call at 5:30 p.m. The firemen activated search and rescue operation for the victims using surface search techniques. The body of the woman from China, identified as Xia Yuan Ling, 55, was found pinned between rocks at 6:18 p.m., about 200 meters from where they were washed away. Meanwhile, the body of Malaysian Jenny Wong, 52, was found trapped between rocks at 10:20 p.m., about 50 meters away from the first victim. The search was called off at 11 p.m. The 2 bodies had been sent to the Kuala Kubu Baru Hospital for post-mortem. Over in Perak, a lorry attendant was killed while the driver suffered from injuries in an accident at Jalan Sungai Manik, Teluk Intan early this morning. A spokesperson for the Teluk Intan Fire and Rescue Department, Wan Muhammad Zakari Wan Muhammad Noor, said the incident took place at about 2:29 a.m. It is believed that a 3-ton lorry crashed into the back of a trailer. Following the crash, the lorry attendant was stuck in one of the vehicles and the rescue personnel had to use special equipment to retrieve the body. The victim was pronounced dead by the Health Ministry personnel on site and the body had been handed over to the police for further action. The rescue operation was called off at about 4:05 a.m. Next in our foreign segment, at least 4 injured and 2 missing in Paris building blast. Cuti Malaysia. A massive search and rescue effort for a missing submersible near the wreck of the Titanic entered a critical stage late Wednesday, with just hours left before the oxygen supply for the 5 people on board runs out. With a surge of assets and experts joining the operation and sonar picking up unidentified underwater noises, the challenge of locating and recovering the crew alive appeared increasingly formidable. Organisers of the multinational response, which includes US and Canadian military planes, Coast Guard ships and tele-guided robots, are focusing their efforts in the North Atlantic close to multiple underwater noises detected by sonar late Tuesday and Wednesday. The sounds raised hopes that the passengers on the small tourist craft are still alive, though experts have not been able to confirm their source. According to the US Coast Guard, Titan began its descent at 8 a.m. on Sunday and had been due to resurface 7 hours later. Rescuers who have received help from around the world estimate that passengers may run out of oxygen on Thursday morning, based on the sub's capacity to hold up to 96 hours of emergency air. The 21-foot tourist craft lost communication with its mothership less than 2 hours into its trip to see the remains of the Titanic, which sits more than 2 miles below the surface of the North Atlantic. The submersible, named Titan, was carrying British billionaire Hamish Harding and Pakistani tycoon Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, who also have British citizenship. Australia's internet safety watchdog today threatened to fine Twitter for failing to tackle online abuse, saying Elon Musk's takeover had coincided with a spike in toxicity and hate. E-Safety Commissioner Julie Inman-Grant said the platform was now responsible for 1 in 3 complaints about online hate speech reported in Australia. Inman-Grant said Twitter had 28 days to show it was serious about tackling the problem or face fines of $700,000 Australian dollars for every day it missed the deadline. Since Musk bought the platform in October 2022, he has slashed more than 80% of the global workforce, including many of the content moderators who are responsible for stamping out abuse. Australia has spearheaded the global drive to regulate social media platforms, and it is not the first time that Inman-Grant had publicly singled out Twitter. She wrote to Musk in November last year, expressing fears that deep staff cuts would leave the company unable to meet Australian laws. An Air National Guardsman accused of leaking U.S. military secrets pleaded not guilty on Wednesday to 6 federal counts of willful retention and transmission of classified information relating to national defense. The suspect, Jack Douglas Texiera, 21, appeared in a federal court in Worcester, Massachusetts today for an arraignment after his arrest in April. In a statement released after the arraignment, Texiera's family said they are hopeful that Jack will be getting the fair and just treatment. Prosecutors say Texiera leaked classified information to a group of gamers on the messaging app Discord. The leak is considered the most serious U.S. national security breach since more than 700,000 documents, videos and diplomatic cables appeared on the WikiLeaks website in 2010. Each charge of unauthorized retention and transmission of national defense information provides for a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, up to 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000. An explosion potentially caused by a gas leak ripped through a building in central Paris, injuring 4 people and causing a wave of destruction in an historic district of the capital. Officials said rescue workers were still searching the rubble for 2 missing individuals who had not been accounted for. Police said 29 people were injured, with 4 of them in serious condition. The blast was followed by a major fire which caused the building, housing a fashion school, to collapse. Images showed wreckage littering the area around the building as the flames smoldered. Some 70 fire trucks and 270 firefighters battled the blaze, with 9 doctors stationed at the scene. The fire service had said there had been an explosion which had caused the collapse of 2 buildings, but police later said only 1 building had collapsed. Several witnesses told the AFP at the scene they had heard a giant explosion. Paris Police Chief Laurent Nunez said the fire, which broke out after the explosion, has now been contained, adding that work is still taking place under the rubble to find any more possible victims. Prosecutors said an investigation into the causes of the blast was launched immediately. Artillery strikes by the Syrian regime killed 3 civilians, including a child, yesterday in the last major rebel-held bastion in the country's northwest. A war monitor said shelling lasted all day at several locations in the region, adding that the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS militant group, targeted government positions in retaliation. According to Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, 2 others were injured following the strike. The observatory, which relies on a wide network of sources on the ground in Syria, added that the shelling damaged a house in the town of Kafir Nuran. Nearly half of Idlib province, including the provincial capital of the same name, as well as parts of the adjacent provinces of Aleppo, Hama and Latakia, make up for the last of Syria's rebel-held areas. Despite periodic clashes, a ceasefire deal brokered by regime ally Moscow, as well as Ankara, which supports rebel groups in Syria, has largely held in the northwest since March 2020. The Idlib region is home to about 3 million people, around half of them displaced. Syria's war has killed more than 500,000 people and displaced millions since erupting in 2011, with a brutal crackdown on anti-government protests. A Palestinian man was killed on Wednesday in an occupied West Bank village attacked by hundreds of Israelis in escalating violence that has left at least 14 Palestinians and Israelis dead this week. Residents of Turmus Aya put the number of Israelis involved in the attack at between 200 and 300, while witnesses in the village saw scorched homes, buildings and wounded people being evacuated by ambulance. The reprisals came hours after mourners held a funeral for a teenager killed in a Palestinian shooting targeting Israelis nearby. Lafi Adib, Turmus Aya mayor, said 35 houses were damaged, around 50 cars torched, and farmland set ablaze. A Palestinian Health Ministry statement said a deceased person arrived at the Palestine Medical Complex from Turmus Aya after being shot in the chest. The Palestinian Health Ministry said 12 people were wounded in Turmus Aya as a result of the incident. Coming up in sports, treble winner Gundogan will join Barca on a free transfer. Stay tuned. Kicking off our sports segment today, the national men's hockey team began their 4-match friendly tour series with a 2-2 draw against South Korea at the Jincheon National Training Center in Incheon yesterday. The Speedy Tigers, under the guidance of coach A. Arul Selvaraj, shot into an early 3rd-minute lead with a field goal by forward Mohammad Firhan Ashari. Mohammad Firhan then doubled world number 10 Malaysia's lead with another field goal in the 19th minute. But world number 9 South Korea hit back to narrow the deficit 3 minutes later through a penalty corner goal before finding the equalizer in the 29th minute from the penalty spot. This is one of 4 warm-up matches lined up for the Speedy Tigers in preparation for the 2023 Asian Champions Trophy in Chennai, India, from the 3rd to the 12th of August. Head coach Arul Selvaraj said he is satisfied with the overall performance of the Speedy Tigers. He said the players took their chances well and also managed to handle the opposition well, although they are still coming to terms with a new style of play. Malaysia will play 3 more matches against the South Korean national team tomorrow, on Sunday and next Tuesday. And in tennis, Stefanos Tsitsipas crashed out of the Hale grass court tournament on Wednesday as top-seeded Daniil Medvedev made the quarterfinals despite admitting the grass court specialists seem like aliens to him. World number 5, Tsitsipas lost 7-6, 7-5 to Chilean Nicolas Hari, ranked 28th in the world. It marks the third consecutive time the Greek had been knocked out in the second round of the Wimbledon warm-up tournament. In Wednesday's late match, home favourite Alexander Zverev defeated Canadian Denis Shapovalov in straight sets 6-2, 6-4. Zverev, the 26-year-old Olympic gold medalist, made the finals at Halle in 2016 and 2017, but lost to Roger Federer on both occasions. He will next face Nicolas Hari. In another match, Medvedev defeated Serbian Laslo Djere 6-3, 6-7, 6-3 with the world number 3 losing a tight second set to win with ease. The former world number 1 and 2021 US Open champion was the runner-up on the Hale grass in 2022, losing to Hubert Hurkacz in straight sets in the final. Medvedev has struggled on grass in his career so far and has never reached the quarterfinals at Wimbledon. He will next face Spanish 8th seed Roberto Bautista Agut. He missed last year's tournament at the All England Club due to Wimbledon's ban on Russian and Belarusian players competing. Medvedev has won 5 ATP titles already this year, but was beaten by Sebastian Corda in the Australian Open third round and was dumped out of the French Open first round for the 5th time in 7 appearances. And moving on to football, Arsenal have agreed in principle to sign German forward Kai Havertz from Chelsea for around £65 million. It is reported that personal terms with Havertz have been agreed upon, and the 24-year-old's move across London will see Arsenal pay an initial fee of £62 million with a further £3 million in add-ons. Havertz would be Arsenal's second most expensive signing after they paid a club record fee of around £72 million for Ivory Coast forward Nicolas Pepe in 2019. Germany international Havertz was signed by Chelsea on a 5-year contract in 2020 for around £71 million after 2 prolific seasons with Bundesliga side Bayer Leverkusen. At Chelsea, he won the Champions League in his first season, scoring the winner in the 2021 final against Manchester City. Played in several positions in the front line and midfield, Havertz scored 14 goals in the 2021-22 campaign, but he netted only 9 times last season as Chelsea struggled to score under the 3 different managers and finished 12th in the table. Arsenal finished second behind champions Manchester City and have qualified for the Champions League for the first time since the 2016-2017 campaign. The North London club are also looking to strengthen their midfield with West Ham United's Declan Rice among their main targets. Meanwhile, Ilkay Gundogan will join Barcelona on a free transfer from treble winners Manchester City. Gundogan will leave City after captaining the English club to the Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League last season, ending a successful 7-year stint in England where he won 14 trophies, including 5 league titles. Gundogan was Pep Guardiola's first recruit when he took over at City in 2016, despite the German being sidelined with a knee injury when he was signed from Borussia Dortmund. He proved to be the man for the big occasion, especially over the last 2 seasons when he scored crucial goals that helped City seal several trophies. Gundogan leaves Manchester having made more than 300 appearances, scoring 60 goals. His experience will be invaluable to Barca coach Xavi after the Spanish side's long-serving and trusted midfield general Sergio Busquets left the club at the end of the season after 18 years with the Catalan outfit. Barcelona won the La Liga title last season, but failed to get out of the group stage in the Champions League while they were knocked out in the semi-finals of the Copa del Rey. Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan will play in their 4th Women's World Cup alongside a number of new faces as United States head coach Vlatko Adonovsky unveiled his squad on Wednesday ahead of their bid to win the title for the 3rd time in a row. Nearly 2 decades sit between the oldest and youngest players, with 18-year-old forward Alyssa Thompson joining 37-year-old Rapinoe at the tournament starting on the 20th July in Australia and New Zealand. Key defender Naomi Jurma, 23, earned a spot after bursting onto the scene last year, and uncapped 25-year-old midfielder Savannah De Mello with a surprise inclusion. Up front, Andonovski had put his faith in 22-year-old National Women's Soccer League MVP Sophia Smith and 21-year-old Trinity Rodman, along with the 33-year-old Morgan. 5 players, Rapinoe, Morgan, midfielder Julie Ertz, defender Kelly O'Hara and goalkeeper Alyssa Nair were also part of the victorious US World Cup squads in 2015 and 2019. And with that, we reach the end of today's Updates at Noon. In our leading story today, Malaysia requires a holistic and dynamic digital economy ecosystem to create a sustainable, equitable, inclusive society. Do join us again tonight at 8:30 p.m. for more news. Now, before we go, we will leave you with a clip of people gathered across India to celebrate International Yoga Day. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya, Malaysia Madani, Tekad Perpaduan, Penuhi Harapan.